Welcome to another Behind the Book from the Moneyline Sports Bar and Book here at the Park MGM. Gill Alexander from the Vegas Stats and Information Network and the bona fide star of the show. He brings the pretty to the program.
Especially today.
Vice President, Race and Sports, MGM Resorts International, Jay Rude. Good morning, Jay.
How's it going?
It's going well.
It's actually 1 o'clock in the afternoon. It's not morning.
It is. But you wouldn't know it here in the beautiful sports book now, would you?
Yeah.
Just been betting all morning long. What a weekend coming up. Want to talk some college football first?
Yeah, we got a couple of good games coming up.
Couple of great games, I would like to correct you. Beginning with a whiteout, nighttime at State College. Penn State and Ohio State, two undefeated teams, both 4-0 at Penn State, and both teams have absolutely dominated their first four opponents. Not exactly a murderer's row, although could be argued that Ohio State played TCU, so there's one solid opponent that they might have played. But they have really been bullies early on, each team scoring well over 200 points in their first four games. Ohio State favored by 3.5. We've seen Ohio State come into this environment before. 2014, Penn State upset them.
Yep.
They almost upset them a few years back and almost last year as well. So this is going to be huge.
It's going to be huge, but for some reason, I mean, everyone talks about the eyeball test, right? There just seems to be a fairly big difference from an eyeball test, I think, between Ohio State and Penn State this year. Even though 3.5 is a very respectable line, Penn State, I think they're just a step behind Ohio State a little bit. No disrespect to their program, great program. It just seems like it takes them a hitch or two to get going. And I don't think they're going to have that luxury to do that in this game.
Dwayne Haskins has not missed a beat in his first year as starting quarterback at Ohio State. Certainly can't say anything bad about Ohio State. If you are getting picky about Penn State, they did let Pitt and Illinois both gain over 245 yards on the ground against them. So you would think if there's one Achilles heel, that might be it. Maybe Dobbins and Weber do their thing for Ohio State. What I'd like to ask you, though, is 3 and the hook.
Right.
Tempting for people to take Penn State and that goes to 3, or you think it's only going to stay at 3.5?
I think it's going higher, actually.
Really?
I think the general public is going to be all over Ohio State in this particular game. They like laying points on the road. I mean, because they feel like it's a discount, right? They're getting a discount on a quality team because they're on the road. So we're going to need Penn State, I think, fairly big in this particular game. I don't know the exact time this goes. Does it go in the morning or
4:30 Pacific, 7:30
So this is going to be a huge game for us because everything's going to be rolling into this game. I think you're going to see Ohio State, on every parlay, Ohio State straight bets. There's going to be a lot rolling into this game.
Only Alabama more public than Ohio State in terms of what the people like to bet on?
I think Ohio State is way more public than Alabama.
Really?
Yes.
More than Alabama?
More than Alabama.
Number one in the nation.
Number one in the nation as far as a public team.
I learned something today on the show. All right.
Except when USC is good.
Except when USC is good because you have some regional
Which is
bias
not right now.
Here in Vegas. No, not quite now. Ohio State, 3.5-point favorites. Whiteout State College on Saturday night. Back on Behind the Book from Park MGM.
Yes.
Here at the Moneyline Sports
One of our newer
Bar
properties, rebranded, ready to go.
Book, renovated rooms.
Yes.
They're awesome.
Great new book and bar here.
Yeah.
And out front, they're going to have an unbelievable, we've talked about it before, Eataly, which a lot of people, that's my nickname, they think, but.
It's like a very hipster New York City late afternoon thing to do.
Get a little dish of that, dish of that, something like that,
Yeah. Bowling alley back here, pool table, whole bunch of stuff to do here.
Yep.
College football, Jay?
Yeah, we got one more good game.
Running concurrent with the Ohio State-Penn State game. Another battle of 4-0s. This at South Bend, Indiana. Stanford, which, can I just say this? Stanford, a gift from the universe last week.
No business winning that.
No business beating Oregon, and yet they did. All Oregon had to do was sit on the ball. Instead, they ran, they fumbled. Stanford tied it in regulation, won it in OT. Stanford 4-0 at Notre Dame, who's 4-0. And how about this for a little coaching malpractice? Brian Kelly, why have you kept Ian Book from us all this time? Brandon Wimbush was their starter. Ian Book comes into the lineup last week, makes a game-time decision, and Notre Dame just rolls Wake Forest with more offense, over 500 yards of offense than they've had in any recent history. Right now, Notre Dame up to a 5.5-point favorite. That's way too many points. Way too many, Jay.
From the sharp perspective, huh?
Give me the Cardinal all day long.
I think the public is going to be, they're going to be riding on Stanford. One, I think we're going to have a West Coast bias here a little bit. We had a lot of money on Stanford last week when they were on the road at Oregon, which that was a huge swing for us. We should have got that money. We should have had it locked up. But I think the Notre Dame backers have been pretty light so far this year. Here and there. But I think this game we're going to need Notre Dame. We're probably going to need them to cover 6 or a touchdown here to be good. But I think this is going to be Stanford from the general public. But I think guys like you probably, if it stays low enough here, that you might get involved.
I am all over Stanford in this. This makes no sense to me. If Stanford was a 3-point favorite at Oregon and they're 5.5-point dogs at Notre Dame, would this mean that Notre Dame would be like an 8-9-point favorite against Oregon on a neutral field? I don't see that at all. But the public team notion is interesting. The Yankees, the Cubs, the Cowboys, teams that the general public love to bet on. And you talked about in the previous segment how Ohio State is actually the most public of all teams.
Yes.
Notre Dame is the University of football, according to some from previous generations. Do people bet that way on them?
They tend not to, actually. I don't know what it is. I think maybe their alumni base is not the core sports gambler.
Betting type.
So yeah. I think the Stanford Cardinal is going to draw, the money here, and we're going to be rooting for Notre Dame, which is great because, like you said, quarterback change seemed to really spark something.
Yeah, absolutely. Ian Book in just his third real appearance getting it done for Notre Dame. We'll see if there's an overreaction to that. Right now, early money on Notre Dame. This was 4.5. Now it's 5.5. We'll see. Keep going. I'd love to get more points on Stanford. That is at 4:30 Pacific, 7:30 Eastern on Saturday as well. And keep in mind, if you're a person who doesn't like Notre Dame, you better hope Stanford beats them because Notre Dame's schedule after this, it's all fallen into their lap. Josh Jackson, Virginia Tech, hurt. FSU not that good. USC not that good. They may be headed straight to the playoff if they get by Stanford here. Notre Dame, Stanford, Notre Dame by 5.5. Saturday night, right here on Behind the Book, brought to you by the Play MGM app. Back on Behind the Book, Gil Alexander from VSiN, Jay Rude, Vice President of Race and Sports, MGM Resorts International. Jay, our pleasure to have on the show the President of MGM Interactive Gaming, Scott Butera. Welcome to the show, sir.
Yes, well, Gil and Jay, it's great to be here at the Moneyline Sportsbook, a fabulous place at Park MGM, and appreciate your time.
Thank you for being here. It is such an exciting time because for those who haven't been to Vegas in a long, long time or to any of MGM Resorts properties around the country these days, so many different ways to bet. You don't have to be at the brick and mortar shop anymore, do you?
No, you don't. Although I sit here and I wonder why you wouldn't want to with all the beautiful things we have here. But really what we're doing is we're bringing online gaming experience to America. It's starting in Nevada and New Jersey right now. We hope to have it within 25 to 30 states within the next 5 years. And it's a whole different way of experiencing gaming. It's a whole different way of viewing sports content.
And would you say, I guess the most tangible way, Jay, and you can jump in here as well, the most tangible way that this affects the average bettor who comes in to a destination, wants to bet on sports is, let's take March Madness, let's take a Super Bowl where the lines are just endless.
Yeah.
Those days are over. They don't have to do it that way anymore. You can just bet at their convenience wherever they might be.
And not only that, you can also bet during the game. So those lines will change. We'll put up various prop bets throughout the game, and it's really the in-game experience that drives mobile gaming. So if you're sitting at an event or in a sports bar or in your home, you can have an iPad, a mobile phone, and you can see the lines changing and play anything you want throughout that game.
So that's, I think, the biggest thing for the American sports bettor now. 10 years ago, even further in the past than that, in the UK, for instance, in-game wagering was more than 50% of their handle already back then. We're not quite there yet, but you anticipate that it will be there at some point.
I think we'll be there and stronger. In fact, we just did a joint venture with the best company in London called GVC Holdings, and they're the market leader, and they've demonstrated to us just how spectacular this product can be. And I think it's going to be more dominant than in-house gaming.
And it's more fungible. You can offer a bigger betting menu that way as well.
Yeah, no, I mean, we've seen the dynamic that it can bring to the sports world during March Madness. When we have the millennials in here, our in-game spikes, 3, 4, 5-fold easily. And it's easily the way that they want to game when they're here. Even though they come here, they want this experience that's all around. Everyone always says, is Vegas going to start to lose people coming to the race and sports book? Because now you're going to be able to do it at home, on your mobile, on the go. And I keep saying, no, it's only going to grow a customer that's going to come here for this experience, because this experience is what people come for. They come for the watch the big games, but everything else that goes with this. You've got the world-class dining, world-class accommodations, shows that you can't get anywhere else in the world. There's a lot of things that go into coming to Vegas. It's not just about the betting anymore.
And Jay, you bring up a great point. This really introduces sports betting to the millennial generation. No longer do people want to sit and just watch sports and consume sports and go out and have a beer or a drink and have that be part of their experience. They want to be part of the action. So this lets them interact with the teams really throughout the contest. And it's great for sport teams because it captures your attention throughout the entire game.
Right.
Great for sponsors, great for advertisers. So we really think that this is introducing a new generation to sports betting in a way that's never been seen before.
It really is, and with new sports bettors, with legalization, they don't have to be wound up in the construct that is pre-flop betting before a game starts. So there's a whole new generation that is going to learn to do this first. Jay was giving me some guff for betting live tennis when we were in Mississippi last time, and you said the next day, oh, what was the only thing we were beating on? Live tennis that day.
Right. It's an area too right now that I think is going to create a whole other investment sports bettor as well. There's guys that are just going to strictly do this as a job. There's guys that already do this as a job, and I think in-game gives them that ability to do that. Once our liquidity starts to really grow, I think you're going to see a lot of people really get invested in the in-game feature of everything. We got to keep sharps such as yourself at bay, but I think they create more betting opportunities for the general public as well, because once they get involved, then that's going to stimulate line movement.
It's an exciting time. One last thing, Scott. It occurs to me the Vegas Golden Knights play right there next door at the beautiful T-Mobile Arena. Folks can actually come to a Vegas Golden Knights game. They can play on their Play MGM app. They can bet right there at their convenience.
Absolutely. That's what makes the experience so great. And this is what we're talking about. You're no longer just sitting and watching. Now you're really part of the action. And it's almost like bringing the whole video game experience, but with live action and live betting and live sports. So it's really special. I think our fans are going to love it, and I think it's going to introduce a whole new community to the joy of sports betting.
It really is, without being corny. It's an exciting time. Thank you again, Mr. Butera, Scott
Bill,
Butera,
appreciate it.
president of MGM's Interactive Gaming. It's an exciting time. Download it. Won't take you more than a few seconds to do so. A few minutes to sign up. The Play MGM app. Back on Behind the Book, Gil Alexander from the Vegas Stats and Information Network, Jay Rude, Vice President, Race and Sports, MGM Resorts International. Can we talk a little pro football?
Yeah, this is a good game to talk about. It's kind of bizarro matchup in 2018, though.
Bizarro matchup as we enjoy the environment here at Park MGM's Moneyline Sports Bar and Book. Great environment here with a bowling alley in the back.
No food today.
No food. Well, that's a tough break. But we'll make us some, I'm sure.
Yeah, maybe we'll get some wings afterwards or something.
You're referring, of course, to the Dolphins and the Patriots. Patriots 7-point favorites on Sunday with a total set at 47.5. The Rams are undefeated, the Chiefs are undefeated, and then one of these things is not like the other. The Dolphins are undefeated.
Yeah.
3-0, and they travel to the Patriots, who never, dare I say, Jay, have never looked as bad as they did on Monday night against the Lions, or excuse me, Sunday night against the Lions, as they have maybe throughout the entire Belichick-Brady era.
No, I think there's a lot of people that are working on the headstone, the epitaph for the Patriots at this point. I think there's a lot of people that are hoping that, right? A lot of the league is hoping that this could be the end of the Belichick and Brady era, and there's probably some teams out there that would donate some shovels to go dig this grave for them. And if Patriots don't get the job done and Dolphins come out 4-0, we are looking at an NFL that I don't think we've seen in a long time.
In that case, they would have a really big lead out of the chute. First quarter of the season, they'd already have a 3-game lead over the Patriots. But you said it off air. We've seen this act from the Patriots before in September.
Yes.
They are notoriously slow starters. And Tom Brady, the defenders would say, look, he doesn't have anybody to throw to. Hogan can't get open. Dorsett can't get open. Gronk is getting double teamed like he's a gunner on punt coverage. But Josh Gordon is going to show up probably this week. That'll help. Julian Edelman the week afterwards, and maybe all will be well, though none of those guys play defense, right?
None of those guys play defense, and I think that's the biggest concern that I think anyone that is a Patriot Nation supporter should really be concerned about because the defense looked really poor. The linebackers particularly looked like they were running in quicksand against the Lions. So, I mean, that's going to be the story going forward, I think, for the Patriots. I think there's some cavalry is coming to help the offense, right?
Yeah.
I mean, as soon as you put Gordon on there, that's going to take somebody off of Gronk. You get Edelman across the middle, so that he's got a little security blanket there. So, Brady doesn't have to ground the ball 40 yards down the field like he did in that game against the Lions. I mean, that's going to take care of itself. But I don't know if they can get into a shootout with like the likes of Kansas City and the Rams with their defense.
Yeah. This though, the Dolphins, we're not really blowing anybody out of the gym, as the phrase goes.
Right.
Patriots favored by 7. Does this stay on the 7 till game time?
Yeah, I would think so. I don't see a ton of the public jumping on the Patriots wanting to drive this up much farther.
So is that all it took? One bad performance, and then all of a sudden the public is like, well, we loved you for so much time, and now we're okay.
That was a real stink job the other night.
Was.
I mean, I don't think there's going to be a lot of people that they might just be like, well, let's sort of watch this one and see what happens. If I was a wagering public person, that's what I would do. I think we might need the Patriots. This might be one out of the 37 starts in the last 2.5 years that we might need the Patriots.
Wow, what a position to be in.
Well, we needed them in the Super Bowl a few years ago too, which worked out pretty well.
They
had a big comeback, but
we're
probably gonna be rooting for the Patriots. I think there's gonna be a lot of people that say it's gonna be a fairly low-scoring, grind-it-out, ugly game. And maybe I'll take the points with that.
All right, Patriots by 7, total 47.5. Is this the beginning of a new look, and I do mean a bad look Patriots, or will they just bounce back and it'll be more of the same? It's on Sunday, Patriots, Dolphins, right here on Behind the Book, brought to you by the Play MGM app. It's Behind the Book from Park MGM's Moneyline, Sports Bar and Book. Jay Rood, Vice President, Race and Sports, MGM Resorts International, Gill Alexander from VSiN. NFL Sunday, nothing like the Browns and the Raiders. Just the game you thought we were going to talk about. Raiders favored by 2.5 now. This just lighting up like a Christmas tree on the MGM app, the Play MGM app. 2.5 in favor of the Raiders, 44.5 on the total. Raiders winless. 0-3 in John Gruden's return to football. They probably should have won a game at some point. They've had a lead in the second half in all 3 of those games. Squandered them all. And then the Cleveland Browns, through 3 games, 1-1-1. Only the Brownies, well, actually the Vikings and the Packers and the Steelers too, but only the Browns, it would seem. They were the first, anyway, to be 1-1-1 after 3 games. 500.
But they might have found their guy.
Maybe.
I mean, he came in and did what he had to do to get the W in the game last week. They're coming off a little extra rest. Oakland, looks like they're searching for something. Maybe Khalil Mack. I don't know.
As John Gruden famously said, pass rushers are hard to come by.
Yeah.
Well, you kind of traded the best one.
This is going to be a really interesting game. I mean, as a future season ticket holder, I'm hoping we get this turned around and let's come to town with a big parade and all that jazz going on here. But it's kind of looking like this is going to be a tough year. This is not the easiest of conferences to turn things around in now, it looks like. So, I think the Baker Mayfield train is definitely left the station. The public is going to be all over the Browns. And by this number dropping from 3 this early in the week, that means the shark community is on the Browns as well.
Yes.
Which means it's a pros and Joes on the same side. So this guy is going to need the Oakland Raiders to really get their act together in the second half.
So you're thinking maybe 2, maybe 1.5 when all is said and done?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, this number could drop a little bit even harder depending on how big my deep-pocketed players show up and pound it. Which, I mean, it's not a glamorous matchup, but it's a matchup I think a lot of people are going to want to bet for some reason.
Oh yeah, for sure. And if it's already moving, you said pros and Joes, same side on the Browns.
Yeah.
Jay, you're not allowed to use this video to promote your season tickets and to then sell them. If I think I know what you're
doing. Get the market value up.
Jay Rood, Vice President, Race and Sports, MGM Resorts International. Gill Alexander from the Vegas Stats and Information Network. Thank you for watching. Great numbers last week. Everybody watching the show, you're the star, man. People are tuning in to find out where the money's going and where you think the money's going, and then find out if you're right or wrong.
I thought the food was a star last week. Food was pretty good.
Yeah.
But I'll take where I can get it. Hopefully the 65 to 75-year-old ladies are tuning in as well.
Oh my God. Jay Rood, Vice President, Race and Sports, MGM Resorts International. Gill Alexander, thanks for watching Behind the Book from Park MGM here at the Moneyline Sports Bar and Book. Brought to you as always by the Play MGM app.